What's up, everybody? My name is Harry, and welcome to Experience Within. So this is going to be video number one of me reliving my spiritual journey that I went on. So I'm looking forward to sharing all this information with you. Some of this is information you might have seen already yourself, but if not, I'm happy to introduce you to it. Everything I'll be showing and speaking about has affected me in some big way, in a positive way. And so really, I guess where it started for me, or where I'll be starting this series, is from a documentary I saw called Thrive. So in this documentary, Thrive, it was a two-part series. The first part spoke about crop circles in toroidal shapes, the donut shape, and it shows how this shape exists in everything in the world. And it was really cool. I'll show you a couple of clips from that documentary. And then the second part of the documentary just really went into more of a who's controlling the world, how they're trying to dominate and stuff like that. Also really interesting because when the documentary was created, that was years ago. And according to what they were saying in their documentary, the bad guys had everything they needed to proceed to their next agenda. So this is not about that. I'm just letting you know what was in the documentary. It was the first half of the documentary that really changed me. After seeing this, I started researching Torus coils, vortex coils. I found there were backyard tinkerers, garage tinkerers experimenting and creating different types of coils. A lot of the claims were being able to get more power out, so it could have been a free energy device. And that was kind of the way the documentary left it for me, where if you could figure out this toroidal shape and the power you could get from it would be, free energy. It would be very little input and get a lot more output. And so it was really interesting, and my intuition and everything inside of me was screaming, we have to experiment with this myself. I had to do my own experiments. I had to learn more and just do it. And I did in a big way. But I'll get into that in a moment. First, I'm going to start with the documentary Thrive. So let me share that with you. So Thrive, what on earth will it take? The website is freetothrive.com. And you can go to the site. Their documentary is free. It's also available on YouTube. On their website, it's a high quality. And I'm not going to actually show you the whole documentary, obviously.
Time quest. I've come to believe that this pattern actually holds the key to a world that works for everyone. So let's go.
So that's the torus shape.
Universe rolling out, and what the universe is rolling out is self-organizing systems, and you can see this.
So in this documentary, they're going to be going over the flower of life pattern, and again, they're showing how everything is this toroidal shape, even in this flower of life pattern, which was found in ancient site tile work. And they say all this in the documentary, but I'm just going to skip and fast forward.
Majority of these elegant creations. Could hoaxers have created all 5,000 of these patterns? Could a few people with ropes and boards have created something as complex and beautiful as this one, made in the dead of night in a driving rain and leaving no footprints in the soil?
So the next part coming up is the part that blew me away, because I'd seen crop circles and I was always intrigued by the crop circles, who created them, what's the message? Is there any translation for this stuff? And this was the documentary that did it. This was the one that had the best explanation of what the crop circles were about. And here you're going to see the animation that they did that blew me away.
The electromagnetic field over the area where the crop's been laid down to create the image is often electrostatically charged. A working radio wave antenna, like the one NASA used to send out the original signal. NASA continues to officially deny extraterrestrial.
So here they're showing all the different crop circles.
Designs mean. Here are some two-dimensional versions that seem to be revealing the torus in 3D. And the related pattern of 64 that we saw encoded in the arts of so many ancient cultures.
They're showing you the toroidal field, and here they're showing you how this toroidal field is in the galaxy, the universe. It's everywhere, and it's a really well done documentary. Anyway, this I'm starting with here because after this documentary is when I really started doing my own research and getting into it, and I'll show you the things that I did. So here I am with a coil I designed. I came up with a name called Fibonacci frames for these coils. That coil is based off of the documentary Thrive. It's based off of this crop circle. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 coils in one. So it took me many hours to figure out how to design a actual coil. That was a crop circle that they're animating to physically make it real. This is what I had to come up with, and I think I got as close as you can come by having this design. So this was the frame. This was just a wood frame for what probably is the largest coil, the largest Torus coil / vortex coil in the world if it were finished. I didn't have the finances to finish that coil because it was going to be a few $1,000s in copper wire to finish it. So here are some smaller ones that I made. Now, originally I got into it to experiment with free energy experimentations, but I did not have the equipment, the meters and all the different testing equipment that I needed to experiment with power. So what I did find out is the coils were great for realigning your body's biomagnetic field, because we have one of these coils coming out of our bodies with the heart being at the center of the vortex, and it comes out, and we have that energy field around us. So here you can see is was some of the earlier designs of the Fibonacci frame that I did end up making. And here's a great example of the Torus coil coming out of our bodies. We have the male and female coils that are in us. We all have the male and female toroidal energy field coming out of us. To the right, you see I replicated that toroidal field. I have an outer copper wire and an inner copper wire. You can see the inner wire is amber and the outer wire is red. So I did create a double Torus coil where you could program two frequencies at the same time. Here are the frames that I was making. Here's some close-ups. I would wrap the frames in rope so that I can get the length of copper wire that I needed. And some of these coils, like this one here, was about close to 2,000 feet of wire. I came up with different geometries, different shape toroidal coils with the idea to experiment with different shaped toruses instead of just a flat one. Like this one's a taller one, and all sizes. You can see here, this is the frame assembled before wiring it. And that's the frame with rope around it. Here's another one where it has the inner coil already wrapped. The copper wire for the inner coil is there. And I had to do the outer. Here it is, that's just the inner. And the thing that took me many hours to come up with is how to attach the frame for the next layer of coils because of the way it winds. If you follow one of those Litz wires, which is copper wire twisted together, if you follow one, it goes all the way up and around and twist. So it was very complex, and I figured it out. It took me about 12 or 15 hours to figure out how exactly to make that. But I was very happy I did. I got to play with these coils. I got to run different frequencies through them. And that's when I discovered how and you can see here, that's an iPad. And you can see how tall that frame is for the vortex coil. And it would have been extremely complex to wrap it. But anyway, I was full on experimenting. My theory has always been, my motto is just keep trying. So I was ready to try a wide variety of coil shapes, wiring patterns, the way the wires connected. Like I was out there with all of it. Here's the tiny coil I made, the smallest coil I ever made. I call it the micro Torus coil. And I got a lot of those pictures. Here I took two of those small Torus coils. Actually, that's a little bit bigger than the one you just saw. And I had them in headphones because you can actually play music through the coils. But at the same time, the magnetic field coming off the coils is having an effect on your body. So here, my thing was I could listen to music and give myself positive frequencies. So here are two different size Fibonacci frames. They're both made the same way where they have an inner and outer coil. The one in my right hand is the largest one I built. Yeah, you can see here. That was me experimenting. And this is just to kind of give you an idea of me. I get into everything I do. I really get into it. I've taken so many different classes, you know, and so when I got into these coils, I had to buy a laser machine to cut the wood into those frames. And that was extremely expensive, thousands of dollars, but I was dedicated, and my intuition says I had to keep going this direction and experimenting with it. And again, the only reason I backed off on the experiments concerning power is because I didn't have all the electronic equipment I needed to run the test. You know, I didn't have spectrum analyzer and tone generators, you know, lab quality equipment, so I could really be precise. So I didn't have it, and I also didn't have a lot of experience using that equipment. So really, I was more hoping and relying on a second person that I could work with that could run the experiments. So I would create all the different type of coils, wind them with the copper, do all that work, and then have someone else who had the equipment and experience testing to run the test and to see if we can, figure out the code to free energy. So anyway, I stopped that. And so I only stood with creating the fields that can affect our bodies. So it was very positive. I had these coils. Here's another one that I have. You can get an idea of the size. So I made these coils. I put my company name when I came up with this was Ohmware. You can see I got the little Ohm logo, where. And so I had that on one side, and then on the back side, I had just a few of the frequencies you could program. Here you can see the healing frequencies, 432, 528 hertz. The sun frequency, which was a favorite of mine, 126.22 hertz. Earth, the Earth's frequency changes, it fluctuates, it's usually 7.8 hertz, but it does go up and down. And at that time, when I created this, the Earth's frequencies were high, but it does fluctuate. And then the pyramid frequency, 515.1, which is the slope of the Giza pyramids that has a 51-degree angle. And there was a whole bunch of research done into the angle of the pyramid and the energy that the pyramids give off. So that's actually a very powerful frequency. When I got to cover my face to make this clear. When I created these and started using them under my mattress when I was astral projecting. Actually, I didn't do it with this one. I did it with the large one. Here's my large coil. Hello. So I created this large coil here. Very, very powerful. I was able to measure the field that this gives off was about 50 feet. So it was about a 50-foot radius around this Torus coil that you would be affected energy. But that was only what I could test with my meters. My theory is the fields go on infinity. And so they might get weaker, but I was able to test it. And about 50-foot radius around this coil, you could feel the effects of it by running the different frequencies. And this one here had two cords. You see, I got these, the cord here is an audio jack. So you just plug that into your computer, or you plug it into your cell phone or your tablet, whatever has the audio jack. And then you can program different frequencies to run through it. And I got to tell you, with these coils, I had many people tell me pains in their body just went away. I found it extremely relaxing to meditate holding a coil. Again, the frequency I really enjoyed was the sun frequency, but I played around with a lot of different frequencies. So I might meditate 1 hour on the Earth's frequency, the Schumann resonance, and then later on I would meditate on the 432 or 528 hertz, or even program the different frequencies to cycle through. Like after a certain amount of time period, it would switch to the next frequency and the next. So because I don't have it on here, but I also had a list of the chakra frequencies. And so actually one test we did once was a lot of before and afters where we had people test their biomagnetic field. We had a tester where you put your hand on the pad and it would send current through each of your fingers. And then it would give you a reading of your chakras, the alignment of your chakras, and it would also show you your aura field around you. So the aura field didn't change, but the chakras changed. And so everyone, and we had about 20 people, did before and afters. So they would when they first walked into the shop, they would get a reading done of their biomagnetic field. Then they would go to the back of the shop, hold the coil for about 5 minutes. And at that time, we were using the 528 hertz frequency. So they held it for 5 minutes. And the chakras that were out of alignment and unbalanced, like maybe the throat chakra was very small and the heart might have been very big, but they might have been out of alignment. If you've ever done that, there's an alignment to the chakras for the size of each of your chakras. It's also if it's in the center of your body or if it's out of alignment from the center of your body. So a lot of people were out of alignment. 5 minutes, 528 hertz frequency, all the chakras were aligned and balanced. It was amazing. And the person we had who was doing the testing said they never seen anyone's chakras get aligned that fast without doing like a long, like a 30-minute meditation. And so it was really, really interesting. And again, just like that picture I showed you of the human body creating the two toroidal fields, the male and female, you have the same exact geometry, copper wire, very conductive, interacting with your own biomagnetic field, helping to align your energies. And this is one of my beliefs as to why a lot of people that have pain in their body after hanging around the coils for a short period of time told me how their pains went away. I had people with carpal tunnel syndrome that after about half an hour around the coil said the pain in their wrist was just gone, and they had it all week. The only difference was they were hanging around me with the coil. And just so many people. I had a masseuse who had very tense shoulder pain. I guess she couldn't massage herself. And 5 minutes around the coil, pain was gone. Another person had twisted their ankle, and a few minutes around that. So it was wild. And what I figured later was when you look at Chinese medicine and these charts, and I will be getting some of these charts and showing them, but these charts of the human body that show the meridian points. These meridian points are energy flowing centers in the body. And these are the fields that are interacted with by acupuncturists. So when acupuncture is done, what they're doing is actually just hoping to move the energy around your body. Maybe the energy is coming up your arm, but then doing a little wiggle waggle, and it needs to be going straight. So they would stick the needles in you to help align those energy fields. And so eventually, like mainstream medicine in America, I remember like in the 80s and 90s, acupuncture was not prescribed, but later they realized the value of it, that it really did work. And now even in America, you could get a prescription for acupuncture from the best of my knowledge. Now, I'm not a doctor, so don't go taking any medical advice from me. Talk to your own doctors. But what I'm saying is, it at one point was considered, untrue medicine, not real, not anything legit that should be used. But meanwhile, the Chinese and Japanese has been using this type of medicine for hundreds of thousands of years. So my point in bringing up these fields is, again, if the acupuncture is designed, or its purpose is to help guide the energy in the body to help it flow in its normal state, then these coils were doing the same thing with the body's energy. It's helping to align your energy fields. So that's my theory as to why it works. I'm not a scientist. I haven't scientifically tested my theories. I can say I've had multiple reviews from people telling me how these coils have made them feel, because I've sold many of these coils in the past. My point in that with the coils is just to show it's something I got into. I dove into it hard. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars in equipment and copper wire and wood and hundreds of hours in testing. And so just to show you a little more about me and what I've done when it comes to a lot of things, a lot of projects that I take up in my life. I go really gun-ho into them. Here I want to show you, this is the laser machine that I purchased. It was 3 foot by 4 foot in size, so I could fit material 3 feet by 4 feet in there. A 90-watt laser, upgradable. And anyway, this was the laser machine that I bought. And the only purpose I bought this machine was for making these coils. Of course, later on, I discovered all the different things I can make with the laser, including three-dimensional woodwork and just a ton of things. There's so many things. But this was the machine, and this was the frame that I designed and was cutting out. So besides this now, I want to also show how I made this Litz wire machine. So this is a machine I designed to create the wire. So the Litz wire, when I was making the wire manually, depending on the size coil I was making, I would have to walk with a single strand of copper wire anywhere from 25 feet to 300 feet. And so I might walk 300 feet one direction, come back to the other direction with another strand of wire. And I did that 24 times until I had 24 strands of wire that I then twisted with a drill to make it twist, to make it the Litz wire. So that got tiring after a while. Many times I was doing this outside because I don't have 300 feet in the house. And I would get grass in the wires, you know, because I'm twisting it and it touches the ground and the grass. And it was a real pain in the butt. So I ended up designing a Litz wire machine. I designed a machine to create my Litz wire. But my problem is with this machine, having the two layers, the rows you see there, those two rows, the wire did not twist evenly. So I had to redesign it after I tested it. And here's the redesign of the machine. I needed to change my pulley. This was the original pulley I had on here. You can see the new one is much larger. That's to change the gear ratio so that the machine would spin a lot faster to twist the wire even more. See, all the spools here have 24 spools. Only 16 of them have wire on it right now. They all go through their individual eye hooks and through the center eye hook. And from there it comes out. You can see, comes down to the spool and wraps around the spool. So I'm going to demonstrate the machine working. You could see it was barely turning. The crank handle barely moved before it was spinning. While it's twisting, I was very happy with the results. It's a nice twist here as it's wrapping around the spool on the bottom here. This is what I didn't have before with the smaller pulley on it. So now I have the correct amount of twist on the wire. So that's my Litz machine. So I'm making my own Litz wire without having to walk too much. Yep, so that was my Litz wire machine that I designed and created, and it worked great. I have to reassemble that machine if I'm going to start making more coils. I'm probably going to be making more coils this year. I have a couple of new designs, slight modifications, some improvements, and I'll be making those. But if anyone's interested in those coils, just send me an email so I can get a list of people, because I'm not going to just make one. I need to make, if I'm going to make them, I need to make at least 10 of them at once because of all the time it's going to take to reassemble the wire machine and just everything involved. So I need multiple orders before I create them. So if you guys are interested, just send me an email and yeah, we'll take it from there. But otherwise, this was pretty much it. This was the beginning for me, because after investigating and researching these Torus coils, it just led me down a whole path with like Marco Rodin, who is a mathematician, and Randy Powell, also mathematician, who figured out this toroidal shape mathematically. And these all these numbers and this math, if you look into this, I still feel this is the answer to power for energy, free energy, or you know, anyway, something like that. But definitely, when it comes to interacting with the human biomagnetic field, there is no doubt this works incredible for that. Like I said, all the different frequencies you could program. I had so many people tell me, I used to do vending events where I'd sell my wooden art as well as these coils back east. A lot of time women came up to my table when I was running the sun frequency, 126.22 hertz. And I can't tell you how many times women would tell me, because they were more sensitive to the energy fields, that's the only reason. Women would tell me how they felt hot. All of a sudden, they felt hot. And as soon as I changed the frequency to the earth frequency, that feeling went away, that feeling of hot. I never had the feeling of hot, but I always thought that was wild how anytime I had that frequency on, multiple women would say they felt hot. So, and there's no heat coming off of it. It's cool to the touch. It's just the frequency. And so that was wild. Now, I would love to do more tests. Have like a group of like 100 people come by and, 50 men, 50 women, and see how the coils affect them. And so anyway, that would be an interesting experiment to do. The other thing I wanted to say was the many hobbies I get into, I just get into them hard, whatever, I learned how to do photography and started a photography business. I learned how to scuba dive and got certified scuba diving. There's so many things that I've done, and all of those things, they made me who I am. And so my point in talking about those things is, when I got into the books, when I got into the spirituality and the meditating and astral projection, I got in it hard. I mean, so hard. And that's something I can say I do. Even my YouTube channel, Aircrete Harry, I've done so many experiments with cement, with insulative cement, aircrete, and styro aircrete, and epic cement mix. Like, I just really dove into all of it just to squeeze out all the knowledge I can from whatever it is I'm interested in at the time. And so I just wanted to share this with you, because I will be getting into some other stories later that involve these coils, but I didn't want to make this video too long. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope you come back for the next video, where I'll be talking about probably the books. I'm going to get into the books in the next video, my list of books that I listened to, because I listened to Audible books. And so these books are what really got me into the mindset of spirituality, into the mindset of knowing that there is life after death. There is life after our physical forms. And so anyway, that's coming up. And then also I'll be getting into some tips when it comes to astral projection. So we'll be doing meditation, astral projection, and some books in the next episode. Anyway, peace out. I love you all, and I'll catch you later.